Hi there, my name's Ash Ketchum. I'm excited because today's the day I finally get my Pokemon license. In my declaration, I am going to become the greatest Pokemon trainer there ever was. Holy crap, it's Ash. I can't believe a celebrity helping me with this video. Welcome. And thanks, Soap. I'm really happy you're covering my story about how I became the champion in the Kanto region in Pokemon Infinite Fusion, the fan game with over 175,000 different Pokemon combinations. That's right, Ash. We're going to be playing a hardcore Nuzlocke, which means if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. The level cap is our next leader's ace. No active items can be used in battle. And we're going to be playing on set mode. Wait, dead? But what about Pikachu? And don't worry, Ash. It's a retelling of the story, not a one-to-one. Oh, thank goodness. Just make sure you like and subscribe so I can feel like these silly intros are justified. Last rule worth mentioning is while I'm allowing most of Ash's Pokemon to evolve, I will not be allowing Pikachu to evolve. I also won't be allowing our friends to fuse with new partners to make this thing a little more difficult. But with that, let's dive in. In Infinite Fusion, if you name yourself Ash, you automatically receive a Pikachu as your starter. Naming Blue Gary gives him a double-fused Eevee. Our first rival battle kicks off as usual as he sends out his Eevee. I love how the double-fused Eevee has elements of each evolution. I really wish that the double fusions had some kind of stat boost, but that's okay. We trade basic attacks back and forth for a while, but ultimately we come out on top, moving forward on our journey. To maximize our route encounters, we actually head to Route 2 first so we can grab ourselves a Pidgey. Heading back down to Route 1 this way allows us to catch a Fletchling using the Poké Radar. Finally, we grab a Mankey on Route 22 and a Caterpie in Viridian Forest. Before facing off on Gary on Route 22, we go ahead and fuse our Pikachu with Mankey, and Pikaki is very silly, but I love him. Next up, we fuse our birds together, and honestly, I love this fusion line so much. My two favorite starter birds. Gary's over on Route 22, trying to convince some lasses to get into the car with him. Breaking up the conversation, Gary challenges us to a rematch, saying we got lucky during our first match. He starts off with Nidoqueen, and we send our Pidling. Going for a couple of stab quick attacks, we take the bird down while we take minimal damage. Eevee comes out, and our plan is to do the same thing, but we get slammed by an adaptability boosted tackle, and we gotta switch. Sending in Pikaki, he lowers our defense as a Karate Chop takes it down, embarrassing Gary in front of his new girlfriends. We rush over to Route 3 while it's still dark out and grab ourselves a Hoot Hoot. Then we head home to grab our little brother Mime Jr. Just kidding, it's from the Secret Garden. But seriously, what's up with your mom and Mimey? Fusing them, we get ourselves this little ice cream hairdo, and it's time to face off against Brock. Hey there, Ash. In this reality, my dad's still a deadbeat, so I can't come with you. Well, how about we battle really quick? Sounds good, Brock. Go Pikachu! A Karate Chop brings GOG down to about half as he sets up his speed with a Rock Polish, only to do minimal damage with the Gust thanks to our electric typing. With a second chop, we bring this hard boy down. Dignix comes out next, and we go for a low kick, taking it down to its sturdy, and we get lucky as it just goes for a rage instead of lowering our speed. A second attack takes this big snake down, and the Boulder Badge is ours. Heading over to Mount Moon, we find Nurse Joy caring for a wounded Geodude. Brock flutters over with hearts in his eyes, and everyone expects him to ask out Joy, but instead he braces his rocky pal, telling him it's all gonna be okay. Nurse Joy feels like the vibe is off and leaves. And so do we. While fighting our way through Mount Moon and helping some Clefairy blast off into space on a rocket, our bird grows up a little bit, and I love this sprite so much. Our owl also loses a bunch of hair, and he prefers Mr. Hoot now. At the end of Mount Moon, we find Team Rocket prepping some kind of experiment to protect the world from devastation, to unite all Pokemon with this triple fusion of our creation. Then Pikaki uses a stray electric attack, hitting their fusion machine, destroying it, and Team Rocket blasts off again, for the first time. In Cerulean, you can trade for a random Kanto starter, so we get ourselves a Bulbasaur, and we'll fuse it up a little later. Before taking on Gary again, Mr. Hoot evolves into a Mr. Owl, and this is far cooler than it has any right to be.
Hey there, Ash. I heard you only have one badge. Well, I've got two. There's no way I'm gonna lose again.
The battle kicks off with this evolving Yodo, and we send in Pikaki. A Rock Tomb does great damage as we get swapped out with our Fiery Bird. Gary heals up, and we just start going for Gusts. After trading Gust and Quick Attack, we bury up and we take this bird rhino down. Mantata comes out next, and two Gusts take it down, and we're back down to about half. Okay, Eron is awesome. We send Pikaki back out going for a Karate Chop, but I'm pretty sure this thing still has adaptability, so we get really low before taking him down. Abra is his final Pokemon, and with that, the mighty Garyoke is defeated once again. After exploring for a little bit, we find this guy in a lighthouse, getting into a very tight-fitting Pokemon costume, and he really seems to be enjoying it. He sees that he has company and can't get out. After asking for our help, we go ahead and help him undress, and he offers us some cruise tickets to never speak of this again. In this reality, Misty never learned how to ride a bike, so she just became a better trainer than her sisters instead and let them do their weird water shows somewhere else. She sends out Jigglydean, and Mr. Owl makes quick work of it with a Magical Leaf. Oddview takes about 30% from Magical Leaf, and we get lucky the Water Pulse didn't confuse us. Deciding to go for a stab move instead, we go ahead and finish off with 2 decent rolled Psywaves, and the Cascade badge is ours. After grabbing a fishing rod over in Vermilion City, we grab ourselves a Krabby, fusing it and evolving our Bulbasaur, and honestly, I love IVB. On the SSN, we find Gary sipping on a glass of champagne. Then he remembers he's only 10, spitting it out, and challenges us to a Pokemon battle, saying that if he wins, we cannot tell his grandfather about this. Neoto comes out against our Owl, and 1 extra century takes it down. Glareon is awesome. The double EVs are some of my favorites. Swapping into Fletchotto, we manage to get the burn off with Ember as Gary heals back up. After a few more Embers, we take this beautiful creature down as our berry gets us back over half. Starbrook comes out next, and we swap into our new crab friend. A Confusion Swift combo do about half, but a Razor Leaf is an Oko. Manecate is his final Pokemon. We get hit really low by a Seismic Toss, but 2 Leaf Flurries take this Furball down. And once again, Gary loses. We try to help Lieutenant Surge pronounce T's instead of D's, but he just gets frustrated, and we start our battle for the Dunda Badge. Surge sends out his own crab against ours. A bubble does basically nothing, however it does lower our speed. Our first attack gets him down to the red, but once he heals back up, we take it down after connecting with a second. Piglet throws some sand in our face, but ultimately goes down in 1 once we connect. But now we have this annoying thing. We managed to set up a Leech Seed despite the accuracy drop, and a Thunder Punch drops us down to about half, and we're paralyzed. We just kind of go back and forth with Rybuzz, letting Leech Seed do most of the work as we remain topped off between our Berry and Leech Seed. After we get dropped down below half again, I switch into Pikiki, getting hit way lower than I'd like, and I miss, which is super annoying. What's even more annoying is this guy has another potion. We get crit down to 8 HP, but luckily, Leech Seed finishes it off, and the Dunda Badge is ours. On our way to Lavender Town, we pick up a Fanny, and our crab gets a lot bigger, but his face is a little funny. Next, Pikiki puts on some gloves to help insulate that electrical current. We visit Pokemon Tower since we hear that Ghost-type Pokemon are pretty rare, but would you see Gary up there holding a prayer candle? Once he notices us, he tosses it aside, starting a small fire that his Glareon puts out quickly, and the battle breaks out. Gary sends out Neoto, but this time it ate a Moonstone. But a Light Ball boosted Spark takes it down in 1. Next up is Starbra, and the same thing happens to him, and 1 Brick Break takes down this Ice Fox as well. Finally, his unfused Gyarados come out, and I go for a Brick Break for some reason. But after getting knocked down to half, a Spark finishes things off quickly enough. Gary starts to have a real human emotion for a moment, but then we hear some screaming happening on the other side of the room. Team Rocket is yelling at this old guy for some reason, and then they drag him upstairs, sealing the door behind them. Looks like we're gonna need to find a way past that door if we want to capture a ghost. Upon arriving in Celadon City, we find Erica outside of her gym gathering some kind of sewage for her perfume. We challenge her to a gym battle, showing her that we have 3 badges already. She states that she's been looking for a trainer like us to help her get rid of Team Rocket's presence in the city, and asks for our help. While fighting our way through their base, we grab a Grimer, and our crab evolves one last time. And look how awesome this guy is. It's like a palm leaf as a shield. Last thing we do here is evolve our Caterpie and Fanny, and go ahead and fuse them together for this adorable Donphy. Look at his little tusks and those shoes. After fighting our way through the rocket base, we eventually find Giovanni, who's already beaten Erica in a battle. Now it's up to us to stop him.
Come on, Pika Ape!
Giovanni sends an Arnix, and we send out Mr. Owl. An extra sentry scores an Oko as this monster of a Honkai comes out next. A Chip-Away smacks us down pretty low as we set up a barrier, which in hindsight was probably in vain. Swapping the Donphy, we tank a Shadow Ball surprisingly well, as a payback lowers us enough to get our berry off. Setting up the Poison, we take another big hit and we need to swap again, this time into Ventiler. This guy's my beefiest boy, but after 2 hits, we're already down below half, and now we're down to 27 as I set up a Leech Seed. The Poison gets him down to the red as Giovanni heals back up. Switching to Razor Leaf for some stat damage, we're in a slightly better spot, but we are getting low. Swapping into Pika Ape, not wanting to lose my best Pokemon, we get hit wicked low. But a stab Light Ball boosted Brick Break manages to get the Oko, and it looks like Giovanni's blasting off this time. Hey, wait a second. Where's the old guy? Before taking on Erica, our starter bird grows up, but it's not so much of a glow up. Erica begs us to not tell the world the secret ingredient to her perfume. We agree, but only if she'll battle us. Befuddled because she's required to battle us, and she would have bribed us with literally anything, the battle begins. My silly bird doesn't quite manage to get the Yoko on this pineapple tree, but Arceus is on our side with the burn, taking it down. Tanabe is out next, and we go for the quad flying weakness, which pays off, and this noodle goes down in one. Vileplume is her final Pokemon, and going for a fly again, we manage to take it down to about half after the berry, and a flamethrower finishes it off, and the rainbow badge is ours. Also after the battle, our bird evolves to its final form, and it is gorgeous. Heading back to Pokemon Tower, we managed to find a Haunter, and it turns out this old dude is Mr. Fuji, the creator of the Master Ball. Team Rocket stole the plans from him and probably has something to do with that fusion machine. He gives us a flute for unlocking the door to the tower so we can go home. On our way to Fuchsia, we find a Snorlax and a girl that looks like she might be a gym leader. Must battle. We play our new flute, capture the Snorlax, and then in Safari Zone, we capture a Sandile as well. Now it's time to face off against Koga in Fuchsia City for the Soul Badge. Mr. Owl comes in and manages to get the Oko on his first 2 Pokemon as Beether sets up a layer of spikes, and we manage to take it down in 2 hits. Chunuk is annoying, to say the least, and after a takedown almost KOs us, I swap into Talongiot. So setting up the burn to take the damage down on the stab takedown is our first move. Then we just start going for some flamethrowers as he poisons us. Koga heals back up, and we switch into Donphree going for a Magnitude, which does very little because of his defense boosts. Donphree gets poisoned as well as we switch to Psybeam, and the burn takes him down to basically nothing. Swapping back into our bird, the burn finishes things off, and we get our Soul Badge. Before taking on Team Rocket and Silph, we go ahead and fuse our Crocodile with Gengar, and look how awesome this guy is. We also help everyone escape from the Silph building, and our reward is a Lapras. Gary still thinks he's the protagonist of this story, as he's a little too late to help the Silph employees from Team Rocket. He insists that he's going to be the one to take Giovanni down and to get out of his way. First, he sends in his fully evolved Needlejot, and we send in our Pikape. A wing attack takes us down to just about half as a Spark leaves him with nothing. Expecting to heal, I go for another attack, and I get outplayed. Oh, Thrash just took out my Pikachu. You've got to be kidding. My first loss, and it's Pikachu! I'll never forget you. Sending Ventilor in, we go ahead and tank another Thrash and finish it off with Razor Leaf. Tauros smacks us down to about half as a Brick Break does a lot less than I expected, and we send in Genadile for the Intimidate. From here, we go ahead and start using Brick Break, and we managed to take it down after 2, but we're below half. Electabuzz is an issue now that we're intimidated, and after a dig fails to do a whole lot of damage, we get knocked down to 8 HP. What? Donphree is up now, going for a Magnitude, and we roll a perfect 10. Galarian could definitely be a problem, so after poisoning, we go ahead and swap into Talongiot, dodging a Blizzard. It tanks a Flamethrower pretty well, and setting up the Hail, we miss. Stupid Snowcloak. At less than half, I risk it for the content, and we take down the Fox. Starbrow's out now, swapping into Mr. Owl. I expect a Psychic, taking it perfectly. A Power Gem does a lot of damage to us, and for some reason he follows up with a Psychic again, so 2 Air Slashes take it down, and honestly, I was expecting to lose another Pokemon. After the battle, Gary decides that maybe we're both protagonists, and he's willing to help us take Giovanni down. He's in the Silph President's office yelling at him about Master Ball production being delayed, and we're here to interrupt the party, and a double battle begins with Gary by our side. Starting the battle off with Genadile, I go for a dig on Primarino. Giovanni calls our move, swapping into Genkan, who tanks it pretty well. Ninojot's also doing a great job tanking for us as we go for a crunch on Genkan, taking it way down into the red. Ninojot goes down, and so does Genkan. I'm not sure why he didn't heal. Going for the heal on Rhyhorus, we managed to take it down the next turn, and Sandqueen does huge damage to Electabuzz. Using a dig to avoid some damage, we managed to do an okay amount on Sandqueen as Tauros goes down pretty quickly. I don't know what's up with the Star-Kazan Sprite, but now we're poisoned, so we're switching to Donphree since I can avoid the Sandstorm damage, and this Stranger manages to KO Sandqueen, ending the battle. Looks like Team Rocket's blasting off again, and the Silph President gives us Cyndaquil since we're the real protagonist. Before taking on Sabrina, we fuse Lapras with our Evolved Typhlosion, and look at this guy! He has an active volcano on his frickin' back. Gary comes with us to challenge Sabrina, and she turns him into a dolly! Oh no! She'll only give him back if we manage to defeat her in a Pokemon battle. Otherwise, she's going to keep Gary forever. Don't worry, Gary. I won't let her do anything to you. She sends in Hitmine, who's very cool BT dubs, and he goes ahead and sets up a nasty plot. Apparently, he's also wearing headphones, so Bug Buzz is useless, and Psychic does a lot more than I expect. Not sure what to do, I poison it and then swap into Genadile, and from here, Shadow Punch takes the mime out in 1. Esrion is up next, and Crunch does about half, with the second one just barely keeping it alive. After Esrion heals up, we get 2 higher rolls, but again, it manages to hold on, but this time we have the defense drop. Now that we've used our berry, we need to end this fight. 3rd time's a charm, as 2 crunches take down this beast. Alabro, again, why do you have like 1 HP? Then for some reason she swips into Genkazam, who's definitely faster than me, and we're able to take out Sabrina's last 2 Pokemon, and the Marsh Badge is ours. With Surf unlocked, we can grab a few more encounters, including a Charmander over on the Viridian River and a Riolu over on 23. Blaine is the gym leader over on Cinnabar Island. His gym used to be inside of a volcano, but the insurance premium was way too high. So he just jacked the thermostat and is building up a little bit too high. Laplosion comes out first against this Drool Horse, and I realize I forgot to teach this thing Surf. An Eruption still takes it down in 1, and then we basically do nothing against Magdon. So I swip into Genadile, and I get a KO with a Dig. Chardactyl does huge damage to us with a Fire Blast, and for some reason I think this thing might be Rock instead, and I basically do nothing. Swapping back into Laplosion, a Thunderbolt does awesome damage, but he swaps into 9-9, who ultimately goes down in 3. A Crunch takes us down to about half as we knock this bird out of the sky, and we get the Volcano Badge. Team Rocket is harassing this guy for a ride over to Mount Ember. After he refuses to give them a ride, they remember they steal everything, not just Pokemon, and they take the boat. After some kind of comedic shenanigans, we find ourselves on the boat as well, getting dragged into more Team Rocket nonsense. When we disembark at Mount Ember, we discover that Giovanni's managed to capture all 3 legendary birds, and he plans to fuse them together to create the most powerful Pokemon in existence. And with this, he will become unstoppable. After seeing that we're here, Giovanni decides to make an example out of us for being in his way so many times, and the battle for the fate of Kanto begins. Starting things off with Talongiot, I know Zapdos is a huge problem for my team, so I need to take this thing down as quickly as possible. Going for a Flare Blitz, I do a lot less than I expect. And with that, our second friend goes down this run. Thank you for your service, Talon. You've been the MVP so far. Mr. Owl comes out next, going for a stab, Twisted Spoon assisted Psychic to take out Zapdos. And we get knocked down to 18 HP. I cannot believe he held on. Swapping into Laplosion, we go ahead and start spamming Surf, taking down Moltres after 2, and a final Thunderbolt takes down Articuno. With that, Giovanni's plans of world domination have fallen apart before his very eyes. Defeated, the birds defuse, and he blasts off to rethink his life for the final time. We hear that Viridian's gym leader has suddenly returned, and it turns out that it's Giovanni. He welcomes our challenge and lets us know that he'll be facing us with full power. I'm just putting it out there. I figure Zapmakuno was probably already his full power, but I appreciate the theater. Rhyperius hits us pretty low using a Barberry, but persistence is key, and he weighs all of his full restores on this first Pokemon, but we need to swap out pretty badly now. Glistar is an absolute monster. So we put in Genadile to knock his attack down. Going for an Earthquake, I remember that this thing is Dark Ground, not Poison or Rock, so we basically don't do anything. And a Mega Horn messes up my entire day. Swapping again into Dawnfree, we avoid the Earthquake, and Mega Horn does basically nothing to us. Nice. And we go ahead and set up a Quiver Dance. After setting up 2, his Thrashes are getting us pretty low, but resistant or not, a boosted Bug Buzz KOs. Ralix is up next, and even though we've been raising our special, we go for an Earthquake that does basically nothing. After decent damage with a Bug Buzz, he actually hits us with a Horn Drill? Are you kidding me? We were gonna dance our way through the championship. I send Ventilator in there, and a Petal Blizzard finishes off Rylax, and another 2 take care of Gochamp. Electatrio does minimal damage to us with a Discharge, and one more dance finishes off Giovanni. But this time, he doesn't blast off. He presents us with our Earth Badge, the final thing we need to do before going to the Pokemon League. Before heading to the Elite Four, we drop over to Johto quickly and find ourselves a Heracross. Now, we need to make some adjustments to our team. First, we fuse Dragonite with Lucario. Next, Snorcross has given Snorlax the strength to sleep while standing. Gary's hanging out over by Route 22, where it all began. He's looking for a warm-up match before he heads to the Pokemon League and sends out Nidojot. Dragario comes out as well, getting him down to like 1 with a Thunder Punch. We take minimal damage from a Wing Attack and proceed to KO the bird as well as Maghorn with 1 Earthquake. We punch this bundle of fuzzy eggs and then scramble them. And same thing with Electados. Galarian puts up a little bit more of a fight, taking us down to about half with Blizzard before we score the KO. Starkazam manages to confuse us, and after punching ourselves in the face, we swap into Laplosion, and 2 Thunderbolts take it down, defeating Gary once again. After making our way to the gates, we go ahead and fuse Muck with Charizard for this melting pile of sherbet, and let's take a look at our final team before the challenge begins. We have Dragario with Power Up Punch, Earthquake, Dragon Claw, and Thunder Punch. Genadile with Crunch, Shadow Punch, Earthquake, and Brick Break. Mewizar with Minimize, Toxic, Sludge Bomb, and Flamethrower. Venolar with Petal Blizzard, Crab Hammer, Leech Seed, and Psychic. Laplosion with Eruption, Ice Beam, Surf, and Thunderbolt. And Snorcross with Close Combat, Earthquake, Crunch, and Ice Punch. Lorelai's our first opponent, and she's a master of ice. And her first Pokemon isn't even an ice type. After protecting, she withdraws Magong and sends in Mabro. We go for 2 power-up punches to raise our attack. She does heal up 1 time, but after a few Earthquakes, we take the bro down. Jin Growth is up next, and we go for a Dragon Dance, followed by an Earthquake, and do basically nothing. A Stab Dragon Claw, however, manages to get the KO. Magong comes back out and blocks our Earthquake, but then we do get the OHKO after connecting with a Thunder Punch, and the same thing happens with Tentacaster. Finally, an Earthquake does huge damage to Weirass, but after healing up twice, we manage to defeat it and Lorelei. Bruno is our second Elite Four challenge. He uses fighting types. Normally his team is in too much trouble, but we don't really have anything that specifically deals with fighters. I start off with Genadile to get the Intimidate off, and an EQ KOs. Steel Chance gets taken down really low, and then he sets up a Sandstorm before getting healed up a few times. After Bruno runs out of heals, the champ runs out of time. Magnetics only stays up because of its sturdy, knocking us down to our berry with an Iron Tail, before swapping into Cycross, who takes huge damage from a Brick Break, and then goes down to an Earthquake right after. We punch this big magnet, and Marochan can't even counter us because we're a ghost. So with that, Bruno is defeated as well. Agatha is up next, and she apparently used to date Professor Oak. Is she Gary's grandma? Genadile starts things off again, and after chomping on this bat and this dog, this floating head knocks us down to about half. Agatha heals up, but the defense drop doesn't save them, and we score the KO. Snorgard does some pretty good damage to us, but it only takes a few more chomps to take down our final 2 Pokemon, and we're on to our next battle. Lance is the former Kanto champion. I can't believe somebody managed to beat him. Let's hope we're good enough to defeat the Dragon Master. Dragados comes out first as we set up a Dragon Dance. It goes for the Paralysis. And Outrage does a lot more damage than I expected, and now I'm in a weird spot. Swapping into Laplosion, we don't fare much better. After an Ice Beam and a Thunderbolt, we manage to get the KO. Togenite is up next, and holy crap, Outrage again, and we have 2 HP? An Ice Beam takes it down to about half, and we've got to swap out, sending in Venolar. I managed to stay above half, going for a Toxic, but now we're super low. I need to send in Snorcross. We get lucky with a couple of Confusion Rolls, but he just heals back up, and 2 more Ice Punches get him down low, forcing a second heal. We're lucky we have Snorlax's bulk, tanking these air slashes, but then he pulls out a Stab, super effective Moonblast, and this sleepy guy's gonna need a little bit of rest. Sending in Muzard, we get knocked super low, going to max out our evasion, but following up with a Sludge Bomb, we managed to take it out. Pteranodactyl is a menace, but luckily, we can dodge things now, setting up the poison. Going for our final Minimize, ultimately, we go down to a Head Smash. Oh, that was kind of a waste. Genadile lowers its attack, and it keeps on raising its speed even though it's already faster than us, and the Toxic takes care of the rest. Typhonair comes out to greet us, and a super effective Earthquake takes it down in one shot. His final Pokemon, Poryjar, hits us pretty hard with a few Dragon Pulses, but we hit harder with our teeth, taking it down, defeating Lance. But one challenge still remains.
Hey, Ash, I knew it'd only be a matter of time before I saw you here. Always follow me around. Well, guess what, buddy? I'm the Pokemon League champion.
Do you know what that means? It means I'm the best. You'll always be number 2. Let me show you what I've learned in the last 10 minutes. Our final battle begins. Dragario sets up 2 dragon dances and we're hit pretty hard with an earthquake. But after missing our first punch, the second one takes it out. Riper Mortar goes down in 1 as he sends in his lead, Glareon. After taking a big hit, he heals back up and this thing is bulky. We go back and forth for a bit. But after a few claws, it goes down. Turtur lowers our attack down to +1. After we fail to get the kill with Dragon Claw, he heals up, but another 2 bring it down. Electados goes for a stab Thunder Punch, but then we bury it. And after giving Starkazam a shockingly good handshake, he manages to hold on and deliver a very meh attack with Surf. And one final punch takes down Gary's final Pokemon. And that is how Ash Ketchum became the Kanto Pokemon League champion in Pokemon Infinite Fusion. If you liked the video, please tickle the like button and don't forget to subscribe. It really helps out and I've been having a lot of fun making these runs. I would really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite fusions are and what types of runs you'd like to see in the future. But I'll catch you next time. See ya.